Greetings and salutations, this is Imperator Vespasian and his trusty sidekick.
Hello.
Today we're having a look at a ancillary figure to our Russian army who is a Russian priest, an Orthodox priest, who would have stomped around at the time giving holy protection to the army. Yeah.
Who's also good in combat.
Yeah, some Russian priests did fight in combat. This particular guy... What?
The Livonian priests are very good at combat.
Yeah, they were. But they were also pagans. They weren't Christian. So, not sure if it counts. Well, it does, the priests, aren't they?
Yeah. You have to be a...
priest. I don't know what they worshipped actually in Livonia. But who cares? Anyway, I know pagans are becoming popular all of a sudden. I don't know why. But this is an Orthodox priest. The clothing is taken from a drawing of a priest at the time. So I just basically copied the colours off of that. Because I assume that the dude who painted it at the time, from 900 years ago, or 800 years ago, would probably know what a priest looked like. So I guess that would be the right colours to paint. But then again, it might have just been the one he wore on Thursdays. I don't really know. I know what they wear now, but back then it was different. So Russians were Orthodox Christians, effectively. Although many of them were also pagans. But that didn't really matter because a lot of the... it all came under... If you were ruled by the same king, basically, it didn't really make much difference. Russians are Russians. And you certainly couldn't convert a Mongol. Because they took religion really lightly. They didn't really care about religion.
Yeah, the Mongol army was full of different people though, so...
Yeah, the Mongols didn't... They had their own belief system, but they weren't really that interested in anyone else's, so they didn't care if you worshipped another god. Although if you did start stomping around saying that you have to convert to their religion, the Mongols would just nail you to a tree. Or break your back. They used to put you on a wheel and pull your arms back until your spine broke.
Yeah, sometimes it was horses.
On horses. Oh, they had horses to tear you apart if you were a traitor, yeah. So, yeah, the Mongols didn't have time for that sort of stuff. But the Russians, they were mostly Christians, and it was not quite the uniting factor in Russia as it had been in Europe. Constantine, to try and solidify the Roman Empire at the point where the Roman Empire was collapsing, decided to choose one religion to outdo all the other religions. And he had the Council of Mycenae, where he got all the religious people together, seriously edited the Bible to take out chapters like Jesus turning other kids into frogs when he was at school. And instead he put a lot of the pagan belief systems into the Christian Bible, the Christian belief system, which is where things like Christmas come from, which is a Roman festival.
No, it was opposite to what we have now.
Yeah, in Roman times, Christmas festival of Saturn, children gave their parents presents. Whereas now it's the opposite. Now parents give children huge amounts of presents and the children are ungrateful. We bought Michael that phone.
Oh, yeah.
That really, really, really big, clever phone that was expensive and talked to you and stuff and had flashing lights on it. And he went, oh, the next one up. Right, okay. You selfish... Think of colourful names to describe it. But yeah. So, Constantine managed to unite the Christian Empire, the Roman Empire, by trying to get them all to be Christian, by accepting lots of different bits of belief systems, putting them all into one religion, which is what we ended up with. We ended up with Christianity. And that was really cool because it stopped people fighting each other over religion in Europe for a while.
For a little while.
For a little while, because eventually, once the printing press had been created, religion pretty much fell apart. But up until then, there'd only been a few upsets, such as people saying they were Protestants. Who was the chap who nailed the things to the church wall?
Martin Luther.
So there were instances of parts of the church breaking away from other parts of the church. Now the biggest problem with the Orthodox Christians in Russia, Greece, places like that, the problem with them, they tended to be part of the more Byzantine part of the empire. So when the Roman Empire broke up, the Byzantines more or less became Orthodox Christians, and the rest were thrown in under the Pope. And the thing was, the Russians didn't really like the idea of paying money to the Vatican. Oh, it wasn't the Vatican at the time, that had been burnt. It was in France at the time. Because the Muslims had conquered Italy. The Russians didn't really want to pay money to the Pope because they didn't see the point. And that really led to a schism between the churches, which gradually grew to the point where now we have the Orthodox Church and the Christian Church, or the Catholic Church or the Protestant Church. Was there any need for all that explanation?
No.
No, probably not. But anyway...
What I had to say was the Catholic Church had a bunch of colourful lights and artificial colour windows, and Protestants have a bland room with the book and a priest.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know.
Basically, yeah. Orthodox going for donations to the church, but they just make their churches gold. They sort of gold plate their churches, and all the money goes into the church. Yeah, it's pretty weird. Anyway.
Oh, don't forget the Catholics had comfy chairs.
Yeah, the Catholics had cushions on their chairs. Yes.
Protestants just had a wooden bench.
Yes. Yeah. Which is fun. I'm sure the Russians didn't need it because they had big warm coats on all the time, so they didn't need extra padding. So they
might have piles like there.
You could have, yeah, but even though you've got loads of fur padding, so you can sit down easier. Speaking of someone who needs it occasionally, yeah. So yeah, this figure is basically there to represent the Orthodox Church on the battlefield. He could give last rites to Russian soldiers who've been wounded. He could help people with their deliberations on the battlefield. But it's just an interesting figure more than anything else. He's carrying a Bible, and he's carrying a cross, which could probably be used as a battle mace in an emergency, depending on which particular Christian priest we're talking about.
Catholic?
No, they weren't Catholics.
Oh, what were they?
They were Orthodox. That's what I like about the modern Orthodox Church in Russia. It managed to survive Stalin's purges. And Stalin turned all the churches in Russia into Stalin museums, which were museums with pictures of him in them. And Stalin, of course, was a priest originally. He actually wanted to be a priest. And he had a lot of priests.
The best way to do this was become ruler of Russia, so he can put his bit of picture in every single one.
Oh yeah, yeah. He ended up hating the church, and he got the priest who was his priest, and he forced him to be in charge of the biggest Stalin museum. He really did have a grudge. He also surrounded his hometown with tanks and starved the entire population to death. Because he didn't like the town where he came from. So, yeah. And people talk about Stalin as if he's awesome. Well, you do if you labour. So that's the priest. So it's just an interesting little figure. The body itself is made out of a Dark Age warrior. The arms are from the Dark Age warrior sprue. The book is scratch built. The cross is from the Knight's box. It's actually the top of the standard. And the cloak, which is all covered in dirt and stuff, is from the Teutonic Order box, and the actual surplice that he's wearing is all made out of milliput. And so is the head, the helm, the funny headgear stuff. So quite a bit of work went into it. No more questions?
No.
No? So that's the end of the video.
So if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and comment down below what you think of the priests.
Priest.
Priest.
You said priests.
That's it from me.
And everything from him. Goodbye.
See ya.